everyone. Thanks for joining in. So today we are going to start with the part C of our Fieldglass integrations. So in the part A, we have covered what are the preliminary steps required for the extended workforce management S/4HANA Cloud Fieldglass Satisfactory integrations. So in the part B, we talked about the 22 steps, whatever the we are required for the service procurement for work order. So we have completed everything successfully. Now, today we are going to start with the part number C, where exactly we'll be checking out the service procurement statement of work. How does it work and how are the different steps we have to complete? What are the 19 steps we are going to cover it from here? So let's start with the step number one, managing a supplier classifications. So this is a step which will be done in the product specific Fieldglass. We have to log in the product as a Fieldglass administrator. Then we have to go to the admin configuration and which identify the classification list. So quickly, I will go into the Fieldglass. This is how the Fieldglass will be looking like, and I will be quickly go to the admin screen. And in the admin screen, if you have to go to the configurations, inside the configuration, we have a classifications. And here we can see these are the classification list. And earlier we have one of those classifications we have created, like a success or client specific thing, right? So for an existing classification, if you want to see how it does it look like, this classification has been linked to a suppliers and SOW templates, right? So this classification, success classification has been linked to the four suppliers, Accenture, Deloitte, Infosys, Accenture US, and SOW templates. This is connected with your the existing SOW is already there. So how to create this is very simple. We have to go to here, classification list, come here and create new. Let's say this time I will be creating a list for value proposition. Let's say GP01 value proposition. Let's see SOW type. Let's say CRD1. I will simply click add it. Now my classification list is ready. Okay. So this is what is expected from this step. Okay. So now we will make it as a pass. All this scenario has been passed. We are able to identify. We are able to create a step. In this step, we're able to create a classification. So that I will be just making it a pass. So this is very successful. We'll be closing it. Okay, so now we will move on to the next step. That is step number two. In step number two, what we're going to see. When we go step number two, we're going to check associating classification to a supplier. So already we have prepared one classification. So in this stage, we'll be going to the admin configurations. And again, we'll be seeing the classification lists as usual in the Fieldglass. This is going to happen there. So this is the classification list. We see there is no supplier, there is no SOW template. So as a part of this exercise, what we are going to do, so as this part of this exercise, we're going to access the classification list. And here we will be, so basically associating the suppliers to this classification. So let's continue with that. I will go to the suppliers. You can see there is no association have been defined by default. So for to associate, we have to just click the add button here. So you can see we can connect with Accenture, we can connect with Infosys, or Wipro. Then what else? So let's see. Yeah. So this is a known name. So let's connect with that. So these are the three suppliers we do have at present. Now let's move on to the next step. I think with this completed this ready, the classification is associated to a supplier. So these are all past we have seen. So yeah. So this scenario is now the step number two is completed. So now we will move on to the step number three. So what is the step number three? We will see that associating business unit to an SOW template. So how to do that? So for this also we have to log into a SOW Fieldglass and we have to go to the SOW template, and from there we'll be associating a business unit. Let's see. We will go to the SOW. Okay, so a little bit tricky here. So we have to go to the admin configuration from that SOW template, not from here. Admin configurations. And from there, we have to go to the SOW. Let's search for it. Yeah, already there. We can find out. So inside the services, we do have, these are the options we do have. So SOW template, we can easily find it out. So this is a SOW template already we are having existing SOW template. And if you see here, this is an existing template. How does it look like? And this SOW template has been connected to its 8 business units and 2 classifications, right? So now these are the details we have, posting information details and everything we are having. Now what we are going to do here. So here, inside this SOW template, as per this test script, we have selected the SOW template. Now we'll be associating business unit to it. Let's do that. So already we are having 8 business units, right? Okay, what I can do, suppose I want to add anything. I will click add here. Okay, so for this, we do not have any business unit because everything has been now connected with already this to this SOW template. Let's go to some other SOW template. Let's see. This is another SOW template. Let's see how many business units are connected. So we have at present 6 business units are already connected to this SOW template. Let's try to add. Yeah. So here we can have this business unit. Let's say SAP business unit. We're going to add it. So we'll add it, this business unit. Now this SOW template. So now it became 7 business units. Now you can see that. So we have now 7 business units connected to this SOW template, right? So now let's move on. So this is also, we are able to build the association of business unit to an SOW template, connected the SOW template to a business unit. Now with this, we completed the step number 3. Okay. So let's do that. Please pass. Yes. So with this, we have completed the step number 3. So that is associating a business unit to a SOW template. Hope you are able to follow me and you have completed this exercises as well. Let's now move on to the step number 4. So the step number 4 is all about associating classification to SOW template. So earlier we have associated classification to a business unit. So now we will go back to our admin configurations. We will go to SOW template list, and from that SOW template, we will be associating the classifications, right? So let's move on to that. I will go to the SOW template. So inside the SOW template, we can see the classifications. So from here, we can identify, we can add another classifications. Let's say the value proposition. This is the classifications which we have just created today, isn't it? So yesterday we have created the classifications. One of you have created success in the classification. This is the VP01 which we have created today. Let's connect both the thing to the classification list. So in this way, the SOW template can be connected to the business unit as well as the classifications, right? So this is the process, very easy process to follow. Yeah. So now we'll go back to the test script. So in the test script, we have completed this all the processes, all the 6 steps, 6 test steps, I will say, we have completed. So this is a pass. This is also pass. This is pass. This is pass. Selecting a suitable template. So this is associated classifications. This is pass. Yeah. So now with this, step number 4 is now done, right? Now let's move on to the step number 5. Step number 5, it is all about the creating SOW. This is a very simple step, looks like, but yeah. So this is also, we have to do it from the SAP Fieldglass as a buyer or as an administrator. So how to access the SOW creation? Already we have seen that, but we'll be going to create that as a from scratch. So how to create an SOW, we will see that. So there will be so many steps. Okay, let's see how much we can do it. So we'll be logging as a Fieldglass administrator, and from the menu, we'll be choosing the SOW link. Okay. So this is the Fieldglass link. And from here, we will go to a statement of work or SOW. So we can see that the classifications automatically coming this one. So there are three steps: setup, details, and review and submit. So in the classifications, as we have decided, we have already created many classifications. So today we have created value proposition in the classification, and SOW owner, let it be. So administrator, SOW billing currency, although we have a lot of options, so let's choose INR, Indian rupees, if it is available. Okay, so you can see that present the source is not available. Why? Because it is showing that the selected source will be available only after the completion of the settings. As we have not completed this part, this will be not coming now. So it is billable or not billable, you can decide here. So it is wherever you are seeing there is a star red mark, this is a mandatory field. So what I'm going to do, I will just put it here. I will put as a next step. So once I go to the next step, it will ask for the supplier list. So select a supplier. So we are having this list. And let's see, I will go ahead with our Infosys. Infosys, yeah, Fieldglass network. Then let me go to the next step. So from here, you can see that the details about the settings, source, template we have already done. Now we will click continue. So whenever we are going to continue, so you can see inside that we are having 5 different steps: details, clauses, characteristics, SOW workers, review and submit, right? So here we can fill up all those details. Where is the start date? Where is the end date? Let's put it like this. Let's start it from 8th of August, and that is, let's say, okay, suppose you have an option here. So calculate end date. Yes, let's say after it is over 180 days, right? Let's say that assignment is 180 days. The system has the capability to calculate that directly. Okay, so this is your end date. Yeah? So this is defined by the buyer. So company code, again, I could put here like what are the company codes? Yeah. So it will be visible to only the buyer user. Let's say 1001. Good receipt is expected. Yes. See, invoice good receipt base. Yes. Material group. Let's select this one. Purchase group, maybe this one. Let's say it will be updated via integration, so we don't have to do it anything manually. Let's see, in the meanwhile, also let's check it out, test script as well, whatever they're saying. Approval based, it will routed for the approval based on the owner. If the owner is selected, selecting a source, field statement of work. Select, this is done. Enter details. Okay, legal entity side. Okay, so company code, business unit, this is X. Yes, yes, yes. So all these things we've entered. Material group, I think we have entered a different one. Let's try the other one. Yeah, this is correct one only. YBMM0. Yeah, so now let's move on. We will create updating everything, whatever is required for here. Okay, we do not have any site or locations here as such. Let's see if any other options we have. No. Purchase group 2. We're selecting group 2. Site locations. So these are not available. 17 and 1710. Right? So anyway, business unit, let's try other one. Yeah. If you're selecting this, site and locations, yeah. So site and locations were not found. Let's try to pick it. Let's move on to the admin part. Go to the site. Okay, this is the site. Let's see how many sites are there already. Okay, so this is the site list. 1710 is the site. This is the site. has been connected to a location. Yeah, so many locations are there. Then under company code 1710, 1710 is the company code. Site is there. Okay, so this is something we need to identify. So this site is already there. So company code is 1710 and it is linked to a site location. Site is there. This one. Locations as such, I don't see here, but let's go location. Already we have a lot of locations like this. But in this filter, it is not available. So this is something which you need to check it out. Otherwise, let's see. 1710, put it here. Yes, yes. Material group is, let's say, 01. If you select purchase with one, it will say, yeah. So this is something you have to check it out. Item category, say this one. Maximum budget. Let's put it 10 lakhs. Task code, let's put it. Okay, this is also not available. Okay, let's continue. I think it will stop here. Your data is not saved. View all the errors. So location, site, and task code, right? So this must be there. Okay. So this might be a configuration issue, which is to figure it out. So once this is filled up, the idea is we have to go through these 5 steps, right? You have to check the clauses, you have to check the characteristics, SOW workers, and review and submit. So this will be the process. Okay. So suppose if you want to see the existing SOW, how does it look like? We will go to the this part, view statement of work. For an existing SOW, if you want to see, so these are the different things you can see. Statement of work duration, what is the duration, what is the budget spend. Okay, so the entire process you can see here. If I want to go to see the details, I can see this particular SOW in detail. SOW list, if I want to see the entire SOW list, which are already approved. So you can see this SOW is already happened approved. Okay. So we can see how does a typical SOW looks like. Okay. So spend our details of the work, accounting part, posting information. Okay. All the details you can see from here. SOW rules, SOW revision rules, characteristics, everything you want to, whatever you want to see, you can see that. Activity items. So at present, I think there is no activity. If you want to add an activity, you can add here. So at present, we do not have any activity. So similar the characteristics also, you can see all the characteristics summary here, right? So any kind of approvals that it has been gone through, you can see that. First one was a hiring manager, the second one is to S/4HANA integrations. Everything you can see from here. And if you have to, let's say, edit it, okay, or copy this statement of work, you can always copy this. This is also an easiest way to create an SOW by copying an existing one, right? So you don't have to spend much time. It is very similar what I'm already having, right? So owner of the hire, who will the owner? You can let's say the hiring manager is the owner. copy statement of work. This is also another way of creating. Okay, so here we can see all those details have been copied, set of details, and if you see here in the next section, these are all pre-filled, right? So you can see 1710 purchase group, posting information, purchase. This is now you can see now. Earlier we are not able to, in the previous example which you have seen, the site and locations were not available, but somehow the configuration was missing. And somehow this is available here. So this is the process. You have to identify all those details, document type, item category, product type, or your cost allocation details, everything you will complete it here. Then it will be available. So now we'll go to the next step, continue. These are all different terms and conditions. And here we define the clauses. Okay, so in SOW, we'll be having different kind of a clause. So these are optional settlement one. But if you want to add clause, you can always click this, define the clause, and you can write here, okay, whatever the clause, because in SOW we write a different clauses, right? So you can write a clause, let's say maybe payment clause. It can be, let's say, you can mention the category, payment category, or let's say. So I'm not writing the clause in details. So payment due by 30 days. So you should get your payment within 30 days of work, right? So in this way, you can add clause and all these things, right? If you want to add more clauses, you can add your, okay, time sheet every Friday evening to be submitted and all. So all these things you can put it here. So I'm not going to do all these things, but it's just an idea how we can add the clauses also, right? Now we will click continue and we'll move on to the next step. So here we maintain the characteristics. So in this characteristics, based on your event or schedule or fees, whether it can be can supplier change the amount prior to the invoice in the event. Okay, so all these things again, whether it can reduce or it can increase, whatever you need it. Okay, so all these things again, depending upon the requirement, you can fulfill all these things, right? This is your characteristic section. So in the first step of the creating SOW. Okay. So how is it is? So almost everything is there. Only thing is if whatever things are to change, you can change it here. Okay. So SOW workers setup with this statement of works require SOW workers. So you can decide is whether yes or no. Okay. So what is the maximum budget? Okay. All these things you can decide it here. So the next step, finally, you have to review and submit. Okay. So it's the last step of creating an SOW in Fieldglass. So once we are done, so we have to submit. Otherwise, it will be draft mode. Okay, so this is how the process, typical process of how to create a SOW. Okay, so I hope it was interesting and you're able to do that as well, right? So clauses entry and all. Okay, so already we have seen characteristics, adding an event, skipping SOW workers. So we have not done that. So finally, again, you have to submit it. Okay, so this is something in the easy one, okay, but depends upon your configurations and all. What we have done. So basically, we copied the standard existing SOW and we from that, because it can be configuration, so we don't have to go into that. But from a testing point of view, yes. So we can see this is something, some observation we can say, but this is how a typical SAP Fieldglass works, right? So how we can create a Fieldglass SOW, right? So this is something we should understand. So I will pass on the scenario. Right. So now let's move on to the next step. So with this, step number 5 is completed. Now let's move on to the next step, that is the step number 6, approving the statement of work. Okay, so this is again already you have seen in the Fieldglass. So now what we will do, we will log in as an approver. So after logging in as an approver, we have to approve the statement of work. Let's see that. So let me approve it. I have logged in as an approver. So what I will do, simply come here and I will approve it. So this is as simple as that. Now you can see the document was approved and sent for further approvals. If you're having multiple levels of approval, it goes to the next approval. So now this is actually going to another approver. Okay. So we can connect with another user, let's say. So let's see the other approver, who is the other approver ID. Hope you are enjoying so far. So this is something very new, and we are seeing for the casino for the first time. Maybe it is little overwhelming, but it is perfectly fine once you practice more and more. So you will be able to understand this in very detailed way. Okay, so let's go on to the next step of approval. So here you also can come here and select your statement of work. You can approve it from here as well. The same process we have to follow. Yeah. So nothing was different. So we are not going to continue all these things. So this is the process, like we have to keep on doing for the approval process. Very simple process, right? So now this is also the step number 6. Successfully you have completed. We have accessed the work menu. We have went to the your statement of work, and we're able to complete that task. Okay. So this was the step number 6. Now let's move on to the next step. That is your step number 7. You'll be checking. So now till now, whatever you have done, it was done in the your Fieldglass. Okay. So now we'll be checking the PR in our S/4HANA cloud. So for that, we need to go to our S/4HANA cloud. Let's move on. So inside that, we'll be checking a particular app, that is your manage purchase requisitions. So how to search for that? We will go for here. So in this, we'll be finding manage purchase requisition. Otherwise, what we can do, simply we will search for purchase requisitions app. We will go to the purchase requisitions from here. So there are two things, PR and PO, right? So you can see there is a purchase requisition items, then we have purchase orders. So we will go to the purchase requisitions items. We'll search from here. So we can see that we have a lot of purchase requisition in the funny name as well. Harry Potter, test. Okay. So these are the different PR you can see. So let's go ahead with this PR. So what exactly we have to do? So we have to check the purchase requisition, and we will be checking these are the different things. Such requisition subprogress at the relevant editing status, purchase requisition document type. So here we can see this is a value. The processing status, this is not edited. So for editing status. All right. So this is the basic data of this particular purchase requisition, and requisition period, source of supply, account assignment. In the note section, we have 5 things: item types, item note. So there is no notes as such. Workload types, so automatic release of purchase requisition. So it's automatically assigned. Okay, so this is something which you can see in this purchase requisition item, right? So what extra is there? So we can search for this. So this is something automatically approved. Okay. So you can see automatic release of purchase requisition item. These are all determined automatically. So you don't have to log into a S/4HANA separately like this, but you can always see that automatic approval is executed. So these are all auto approved. Okay. So you don't have to, if any case of any issues, you have to come. Otherwise, automatic approval is executed. You can see that. Okay. So that covers your the step number 7. So earlier when we have tested, so we are not able to find this app, but actually now we are finding out. Okay, so now we can mark it as a pass. And we can see that this is the workflow step. If it is showing, so this is automatically passed. So we can put it that in the observation here. Maybe we will create a tab here, and inside that we can put it like all the screenshots, whatever observation. So with this, now we have completed the step number 7. Hope you are with me and you are able to also perform this activity. And if you need a break, just let me know. So now we will continue with the next step, that is check updated statement of work status. So this is something a repetitive task. Okay, in one of the previous scenario we have seen, we have to go to Fieldglass and check the SOW and choose the ID of the SOW. Okay, it will take some 2 to 5 minutes after the last procedure, and it will be updated. Okay, so change to created. Status of the statement of work has changed to the created. So basically, so this will be getting updated. So this particular value. So SOW will be the created status. Okay. So let's see one of the values as such. So let's go to the Fieldglass once again, our favorite. And from here, we will go to the SOW. Right. There are two things. One is SOW and another is SOW line item. So you can see in the SOW line item, if you go, you can see all the things like this, SOW line items like this, SOW ID and all. So you can see there is a SOW which has been created, isn't it? So if I go here, and you can see the pending response, supplier needs to respond for this SOW. And this is something, the details about the SOW, all these details you can see, right? So now what we're going to do for these instructions, we can see the status of the SOW has been changed to the created, okay? And the status of the statement of work is approved. Okay, so this is the process we have to follow, right? Yeah. So now let's move on to the SOW list once again. Let's move on. If I want to see the same SOW like this, I can go here as well. So you can see there are different possibility of the statuses of the SOW. It can be approved, it can be closed, declined. So these are the different statuses you have to remember exactly. Also, it can be a homework for you. What is the meaning of all this statement of work? You may get it in the implementation guide and other guides of the class. You have to identify and tell me that what are the different steps, which comes first, which comes second, which comes last, or which can be a. So you have to give more clarification for this, right? Suppose it's a draft mode, what are the significance of it? Okay, so the next step will be it need to submit it. Okay, as it is in the draft mode. Okay. Suppose it is showing it as a approved. What is the next step? So we can see there is a such no next step. Okay, so we can see it's already approved. Right? Okay. So if it is going to another stage, let's say pending response. Okay. So the next step will be supplier needs to respond. Yes, status is pending response. Okay. So in this way, you can always check it out all the SOW. Okay, and whatever is required for your work. Yeah. So that is all about checking the updated SOW status. So with this, we have completed this step. So what I will do, I will simply mentor test result status. Yeah. So that is here all about your step number 8, how we can check the updated statement of work in the Fieldglass, right? So now let's move on to the next step, that is your step number 9, accepting a statement of work. So where it will be doing, you will be logging as a supplier now. So now we have seen that in the created status, it was showing supplier needs to respond, isn't it? So what we are going to do in this step, okay, we will be logging in as a supplier first. So let me log in as a supplier. So after logging in as a supplier in the Fieldglass, let's see. So let me log in with the supplier. Supplier ID is USCR. Let me check it out. This is my supplier. So once I go to the supplier, what I need to go? I need to go to the SOW. So to access the SOW, which is showing the pending response, because this is something we need to go and we have to respond it and we have to accept it, right? Accept it or decline it based on your need, whatever is. So next step is need to accept. Okay. So what I can do, I can just review it. If anything is required, I will tell. Otherwise, I can simply it. Okay. So otherwise, there is also an options. It is take it the chat option here, but anyway, so we can accept it directly. This is the way you have to. Okay, put if anything is required, you can give some comment here. Okay, so click continue. So again, you will be having different clauses here. Okay, so the payment clause or whatever. Okay, we are having time sheet. So this is you can see, and we have written that the clauses, right? Payment due is always by the 30 days, and time sheet should be every day by Friday evening. That you can see that, and you can continue from here. So characteristics. So you can see the different characteristics. You can, if you want, you can add it here. Suppose any fees, okay, or no fees have been created for the statement of work, right? So there is no management events have been created for this. Okay, schedule, no schedules have been created for the statement of work. Events. Okay, so this is also not here, but you can see there is a new event. You can check that event here. Okay, so I think okay, I need to log in again. Otherwise, yeah. So these are different clauses which you can go through. Continue all these things. Then finally, you have to review and submit it. Okay. So if anything is required, you can change it. Otherwise, you simply submit it. So this is the typical process you need to follow for SOW. So this is an SOW approval or acceptance by the supplier, right? So you have reviewed the statement, submit the statement. It is submitted. After the next step for response pending approval to the workflow. So this is the typical process we need to follow while accepting the statement of work as a supplier, right? So we will mark the pause. Let's make it green color. Okay. So now we have completed the step number 9. So we will move to the next step, that is the step number 10, checking the purchase order in S/4HANA Cloud. So we will go to the S/4HANA again, and we'll log in as a purchaser, and we have to go to the purchase order. Okay. So what I will go and we will check it out. Purchase order is already, if it is already displayed or not. To search for a purchase order sent from the SAP Fieldglass system, set the relevant filter and choose go. Okay. So this is something the script doesn't say what exactly to do. If somebody doesn't know what are the different filters, so then it may be confusing for him. Maybe we have to improve this script. So we have to go to the step means S/4HANA, and we'll be logging in as a purchaser. Go to the purchase order, right? So let's go to the main page. And from here, we will go to the purchase order. Already, we have already accessed it previously. So it is appearing in the top. So this is the purchase PO you can see. And what are the different things we are having? General information, and under general information, you can see the supplier who has created, Fieldglass CPA has created it, delivery and payment. It is as of the end of the month. Who is the recipient? That is our company code and purchasing group and purchasing organizations, right? So this is something people who are coming from background, SAP material management, they can understand in a much better way. But if you are new to this, I will say that understand the basic fundamental of module. For these are all interdisciplinary subjects, right? So you have to know the little bit of everything, right? So be also generalist. So purchase order limit, they have mentioned supplier confirmations. This nothing is there. Purchase requisition item, we can see one. Purchase contract items, we have seen. Good receipt, supplier invoices. Okay, all these details are actually part of this standard PO. So this is the PO, purchase order. Okay. So a list of purchase order is displayed, but purchase order is generated and automatically approved. Okay. So this is a single purchase order we have seen. Suppose I want to go to the home page, and if I want to search for purchase order from here, let's say I will go from here, and if I search the entire list, I hope I will be able to see all the purchases. So there are around 346, and let's say I would like to filter. Let's say I will be having purchase group which is coming from Fieldglass, right? So I think this filter. So this is the filter they were talking about. Okay, Fieldglass. And also, if you want to filter by, let's say, purchasing group, which purchasing group has created and for which company. Let's say it is for I'm looking for Accenture. Okay, so this is the description if they're having. This is their purchase order, and in which even I do have a lot of options here. For this purchase order, if I would like to see the process flow, account payable, manage purchase order, if I have to check the workflow, if I want to monitor purchase order, down payment, how much is bill, everything in a single window, you can really visualize it. Okay. Suppose I want to check it out, monitor the purchase order for this. Whatever the down payments have been already done. So I can always come here and I can check it out. So all these applications are actually interlinked with each other. Okay, so I think there's something interesting. Let's say that is a USD. Okay, so for this, so we do not have any much down payment. Those informations are not available. Okay, otherwise, if you want, you can check display process flow. Okay, so this is always my favorite. You can see for this purchase order, we can see the entire thing. Okay, so you can see this is the purchase order. This is quantity, posting date was this, and for the service entry sheet is also connected. Good receipts in there. It is already posted. And the next one is after getting that, you have a invoice receipt, and then that goes for the journal entry for the payment. Then finally, the clearing entry of that. Okay, this is the entire as a process flow. You can also see that, which is always good and interesting. And you can see that goods receipt listed, and whatever you're doing, those all entry will be getting updated here. Okay, so that is all about this complete process, right? And if you want to manage the purchase order, you can go here directly from here as well. Can edit anything or change anything. Okay, so if you go to the same, and you can click this edit button here at the top. Okay, so it was saying that it was created externally and cannot be changed. Okay, that is not perfect fine. Okay, but let's put it as an observation. So it will say that it was created externally and cannot be changed. So what we can do, we can go to that particular sheet, and we can mention that here that this is something in observed in this particular sheet, right? So we have checked the purchase order in the S/4HANA cloud. Okay. So now let's move on to the next step without any delay. And what we will do is check the statuses of this purchase order, right? So what our aim is to check out this purchase order. Let's move on. So in every purchase order, you'll be having some statuses here. You can see the supply invoice, good receipts, purchase contract items. So all the details you can see from here. So we have the follow-on documents for this. So now this is all about your step number 10, right? Now let's move on to the next step. That is your step number 11 is revising SOW. It's an optional exercise, but it's the same thing. Suppose if you want to do any kind of a revision based on your new SOW or revised SOW, again you have to go to the Fieldglass, and a typical process is you have to go to the Fieldglass, you revise the SOW, then there will be an approver. Once it is approved, again there will be supply side of approval. This is a typical repetitive step, so I'm not going to cover, but I'll just show you how after logging in as a buyer or as an administrator, you can do this entire activity. This is you have to log in as a buyer as per these instructions. So I have to log in as a buyer. Let's say this one. Okay, so now what I will do, so I will be going to the SOW and I have to decide to revise anything. I can revise, and I can continue from there, right? So let's say this is already an approved SOW. What I can do, I can go here and I can click revise. Suppose I have to change anything in the SOW. Okay, so this is the way you have to update. Let's say instead of hiring manager, I'm giving it to some person, right? Let's say this person I have to change the changes. So data has not been changed. Okay. Okay. So this is fine. Perfectly fine. What I will do, continue again, continue. Plot is continue. Same 6 steps, whatever we have used for the creating a SOW. Same 6 steps again will come whenever you are revising the SOW. So you have to remember that. These are the steps we typically follow, and we will be continuing like this. So we are not filling all these things in detail, but in actual, whenever you are doing, you have to fill up all these things, whatever is required for your thing. So now finally we'll be submitting this, right? Okay, so that is the typical process how to do a SOW revision, right? So with this, we have completed the step number 11, right? Now let's put it like this. Okay, so this was the error we had got it earlier, but not in this page. So let's put it in step number 11 only. And what we have done, so in the past scenario, I will do it. The green, control C, solve is the past. Typical workflow. So we have already seen that. So you can continue. So I'm not doing that, but this is something is expected once the data is. If you're facing any challenges while doing this exercise, just let me know. This is the very simple steps. Already we have seen earlier. Okay. Just repeating that activity once again. Nothing much. Okay. So this is the step number 11. We have to complete it. Now moving on. Next one is step number 12. Mark work item as a. Okay, so we will see where to do this. Step number 12. That is we have to log in as a Fieldglass, the supplier side. And from there, we will be checking the work item. And inside that, you have to mark the one of the work item is completed. And also it will lead to an approval. Okay, so what I will do, I will go to the Fieldglass. And I'll be logging in as per the script as a supplier. Okay. So let me log in as a supplier first. So for that, I need to go to this ID. So once we do that, we have to go to the SOW line item. So in this SOW, I can see there are so many SOW created, paid, invoiced. There are different statuses. The different statuses we are having here. So after understanding this, what we'll be doing? So in this, choose the line item, the event added to the one. Choose mark as a complete item. Okay. So we'll go to one of the SOW, which is already. So what it will do? So, so it is an approval is pending for this. So we will go to the other work list, other statement of work. So here we have an option to accept it. So what we will do, we will see here. So in this particular thing, we'll go to this particular event. So this is an event actually. Mhm. If it is already approved, let's check it out. Yeah. So this is SW work ID. The details about it, SW rules, characteristics rule. So as per the test script, let's see that. Or the event. So we can see to an approved SOW here. Okay, we have an option to add SOW worker. So if I have to add any worker, any kind of technician, engineer, Tanish Mahapatra will register on behalf of the worker. So the worker will self-register. Worker's personal email. Let's say after giving my email. So specific ID, security ID. Let's say the start date and end date from here. Let's say yes, times to start it. Let's say conflict only 25 times it by standard. This is a weekly start day of the week Monday. Not able. No. Now we will give it allow. It's an optional field. Hope there should not be any error. Okay, some error is there. Okay, unique ID doesn't match. Confirm unique ID. So this is something you need to check it out. This is not a part of the tested, but while adding a worker, you may get this error. Okay, so you can check it out. And also, this is something we need to figure it out. This is so we are not able to find it out. We will in the next iteration maybe we will check it out how we can work on this. So this is something we have completed step number 12. So now we move on to the next step. Approve transaction. That is step number 13. So in the step number 13, we have to log in as a buyer. Okay, so this is a kind of approval, any kind of a transaction, how we can approve it as well from a buyer side, nothing very difficult to do. So what I can do, I will simply log in as a buyer. And I will go to the my work items. Work items. So you can see whatever is required will say here. It has to be approved. It will say approved SL706. So this is a SOW. I need to approve. So it came from approval. So now I've approved it. So this is something job posting. The tag says I may have to look into it. I have to, if it is required, I have to approve it. Okay, so this is again a job posting. I have to approve it. This is something we have seen. We can approve. This is a timesheet approval. So you can see this is another item. So you can check it out. You can check it out. Okay. So in the timesheet, how it will come. So what are the things you can see? These are the standard timesheet entry, which is done by the employee. And if you have to approve it, you have to approve it here. The last one is a single mark is complete. Mark is complete. That means you are completing everything for this employee. Okay, completion of activities. Mark is complete. I think this is something we have seen in the earlier. That was step number. Mark work item is complete. Okay, so this is something now we fulfill this. Event is marked as a complete. Review and some enter mark work item is a complete. Okay, so mark is complete. So we need to check it out. This is what. Is this the same skill they're talking about or something else? We need to figure it out. Okay. So here, this is the process we need to follow. We need to verify whether this is the right one or mark is complete. So up to transaction, this is already we have done. Now we'll move on to the step number 14. Check service entry sheet in the S4 HANA Cloud. So how to see it? We have to go to the login to the Fieldglass the approver. This will be done. Okay. So we will check out any of the Fieldglass related invoice. So this is an approved invoice. So let's see. So once you approve it, the invoice request message will send from SAP Fieldglass to SAP S4 HANA Cloud system. So this is an approved invoice. If you can see, also you can select mark as a paid if it's already paid. Employee, this is your invoice. Okay, so this was the step number 14 we have seen. Now let's move on to the another 5 more steps to complete this exercise. So now we will be going to the step number 15. So this will be again approving the SOW invoice. Okay. So this is something will be done in the Fieldglass itself. If it is not approved, how to see an unapproved invoice. So let's go to the invoice list in SAP Fieldglass. You can see there is an something is pending. So this is which you create a later on. So this invoice is pending for approval. So simply I will go here and I will approve it. Click approve. This is the process. So you can understand how these are already approved. Okay, so now let's move on to the next step, that is step number 16. Step number 16 is all about checking invoice in the S/4HANA cloud and pay the invoice in the HANA cloud. So this is all we'll be going to see that here in the S/4HANA. So we have to go to the supplier invoice basically. Okay, might be I have something entity. So let's follow the steps. So accounts start. Open the supplier invoices list. So we can see we can display supplier invoice. Let's check it out this invoice with this invoice. So let's go to this. So it says this is not existing. So we'll see, let's see display invoice. Supplier invoice list. Invoice document type. It is not found. Let's do a research by company code. 1710 is our company code. We have known it. And let's say the status it is in, let's say, from Fieldglass, whatever is coming from Fieldglass, check it out. Okay, so we don't have, it is a reversed one. Received from the Fieldglass. Let's see that. Okay, nothing is there. So we can see a couple of invoice. So here, one of the invoice, this is the one, 22, company code. This one is already posted. So this is a supplier invoice. So here you can see the general information all about the invoice. Then we have a purchasing document reference invoice, standard one. And we have payment related information. So baseline, net due date, note section, output. So all these things we can see, and the journal entry, if you want to see, you can see that here as well. So this is the journal entry for this entire flow, purchase order, where it was done, invoice, receipt, journal entry, clearing entry, right? So this is all about the supplier invoice, and if you want to reverse it, you can reverse it here, coming here. Reason for reversal. So you can say it was a wrong posting, then click OK. Then it will be reversed. Okay, so it is saying that reversal is not possible. So obviously it's fine. It is already done. So we don't have to do it. As a part of this tested, but this is how you can check out your invoice. And let's say the invoicing party, we are checking with Accenture and Deloitte. I think Infosys was also done. Let's go. Let's go ahead with them. Click OK. Oh, yeah. So this is the different invoices. We can see that from here. Text reporting payment, delivery cost, output. So all these details you can see in the supplier invoice as well from here. Okay, so that was so the idea is we have to identify and which are the identified. We identified one of the invoices as for HANA Cloud. So we're able to do that. So with this, we have completed the step number 16. So now we will go to the step number 17 to pay the invoice. Okay. So how to do that? So we will just go to the invoice. Let's go to the invoice list. Post outgoing payments. So this is your app. So for everything, we have an app in this for HANA. We will go to the post outgoing payment. Very simple. So post outgoing payments, that is applications. And from this, we have to identify our company code. That is this one. And so the mandatory fields, because we may not have all this data point, right? So we may not be able to see this. Yeah. Okay, so for this in data, we do not have any much thing. Okay. Otherwise, this is the process you have to come for the payment. Okay. So you have to do it and simulate. Anything is error, it will come here. Zero balance, correct the document, and finally you have to post it. Okay. So that's the process you need to follow. Okay. But as you do not have a good data, maybe you will not be able to do it. Okay, so this is the step number 7, how you can pay the invoice. So now let's move on to the next step. Step check updated invoice status. So where you need to check it out? So an invoice can have a different statuses. So these are the statuses of an invoice we can see in the SAP Fieldglass. Okay. So these are the possible statuses, right? So how we can check it out? We can go to the Fieldglass as an administrator, then check out the invoice status, access the invoice. So let's go to that invoice. Suppose if you want to mark a particular invoice, it's already you have paid, you can select that mark as a payment. That's the process. But let's go to the our invoice list. You can see that there are different statuses, right? So here you see these are different statuses are available: paid, payment pending, payment review, payment pending approval, all these things. This is something you can mention that this passed, right? This is pass. So green. Yeah, so this is a step number 18. Then step number 19, we will go and close the statement of work. So in the field glass, we will go and access the statement of work. You can close that. And finally, once you do that, same thing, let's say go to the statement of work. This is my field glass. I will go to the statement of work. Let's say this is one of the statement of work. Suppose I want to close this, let's say. So I can go here and I can close the statement of work like this. So what is the reason? Allow further invoicing. Let's say yes. Reason. Okay, so what are the maybe the reason? Okay, so we can close that. So this is something the process you have to follow for closing the statement of work. Okay. So yeah. So now how we'll do? So the next step you have to go to the S/4HANA cloud and go to the purchase order for that thing and select the purchase order which is relevant for the work order which is created in the okay, and we can review that purchase order from the sorry, from S/4HANA, right? So this is something for this. You want to see the details about it. Business unit, accounting, details, statement of work, purchase unit, purchase group, PO numbers. This PO number, let's see that whether it is there or not. Purchase order. Purchase order. Let's search for that particular purchase order. Okay, so this is our purchase order, which we can see that it is from Fieldglass. So, so this was the purchase order we have seen in our Fieldglass. Same purchase order, it is linked to this particular work order. We can see purchase order, event, 2 items, display process, purchase order, return assignment, and stock, goods receipt, material document. This is your material document. Okay, we don't want to see that. Supplier invoice, supplier confirmations. Okay, so this is all about your step number 19. We have seen all these things, right? So we need to check it out after selecting the purchase order in the limit item section. Limit item section. Limit item sections. This is the path and what they're expecting. The limited state mark for deletion. Okay, so this is we couldn't see it. So let's make a note of it. Status was empty. Okay, so this was an observation. Otherwise, the remaining things were passed. We will let's let it pass. So this is all about the part C, where we have discussed about different 19 different steps of service procurement for the statement of work. Okay. So now as a part D, we will go to the next step. These are the 5 steps you have to check it out. So there are a few things we'll be checking out in the ERS, that is evaluated risk settlement. Create an ARPU service entry in S/4HANA Cloud. Create and run ERS supplier invoice in S/4HANA Cloud. ERS check and check. Okay, so we'll check it out here. So here we have to go to the S/4HANA maintain business partner. Maintain business partner. This is the one. So from here, select business partner drop down list. And in the field field, select business partner by number. Yeah. So these are different business partner. We can see Fieldglass supplier, all these details, right? Okay. So this is how we can see the different business partner. And if I want to check out any of the supplier, let's say this is the one. You see, I can see about detail about it. This is the business partner. James Smith, applications, address independent applications, all the details about this business partner I can see, right? Yeah. So what they are expecting for us to do, we have by display business page. This. So this select supplier view. Business partner again. So from a supplier point of view, if you want to see, you can see that Infosys, Wells Fargo, Fieldglass, Softcard, all these details you can see, right? Okay, so this is something if you want to see, you can see the details. You can see for this details about it. Okay, this is the first step what we are talking about. Check subscribers. It requires settings for the ERS invoice scenario. Organizations view. So from here, so select the purchasing tab. So this is when you just confirm it. But this is step number one, where exactly you will check the required setting in S/4HANA Cloud for ERS supplier invoice, right? Step number two, create an approved service entry system. This is already we have done it earlier. So it's very straightforward. Create an approved service entry sheet from a work order. So to create a time sheet, you necessarily Fieldglass and check whether the service entry sheet is approved in S/4HANA Cloud. So there is a separate chapter for it. Okay, we can go for it. And chapter check service entry sheet in S/4HANA Cloud. Okay, so there is a separate thing. We can check out that as well. So creating an approved service entry from the statement of work. Service entry the approved S/4HANA Cloud. It is the chapter manage supplier classifications. So this is something we have to check it out. Check service entry. So this is already done. So we can do that, not a problem. So we have to just do a recap on this. So this is step number two. We can easily do it. We'll check it later on. Now, if you're not able to do it, just let me know. So in step number three, basically, so there is can be some programmability. So open the schedule supplier invoice jobs. Schedule supplier invoice. Yes, so we have a schedule supplier invoice jobs. This is the advanced one. Let's check the advanced one, what is in store. So this is all basically you have to schedule the job that ERS invoice jobs. And once it's scheduled, all the details you have to fill it up. Then simply you have to run the jobs, right? So this is something you'll be getting like this. So at present, let's say I want to check anything which is having ready. So you can go for it. So today plus or minus nothing is ready. Otherwise, let's say search for all everything. Search for something 50 days. Today minus 50 days, nothing is there. It's plus 100 or here let's put it 100, 1000, let us put it. So nothing is there. Suppose we want to create something, you can also create. So you can create a template like this, automatic delivery cost settlement. Step two, you can start immediately. Step three, the parameters. So very simple. So in the parameter, you can provide all the details, company code, freight supplier, purchasing document, item, bill of lading. So all the details you can provide and you can check out. And if you want to check any template, you can do that and you can schedule it. So it is a very simple process. Simply you have to schedule this job. Okay. This is step number 3. So I hope you will be able to do it. Let's put to the pass. Step number 3. Check ERS supplier invoice. Yeah. So from where we'll be checking this. So you have to supplier invoice list in that app. So we have to go to supplier invoice list. Invoice list. So it will ask for the display document. So at present we do not have a document number and all. Okay, but once you have the data, you'll be able to see that in here. So this is something we have seen, nothing much. Step number 4, nothing much is there. So go to the step number 5. So step number 5 is all about check ERS supplier invoice in the SAP Fieldglass. So how to check that? So we have seen this for HANA Cloud from where the point. And for Fieldglass, we have to go to the payment sections. Invoice, what they're asking. Okay. So any of the invoice, if you check it out, you can see that it's already paid or not paid, who is the supplier. Okay. So this is the what invoice which we're working on. Here, so if you see here, all the details are here. PO number, invoice date, legal entity, purchase unit, everything is there. So now what we can do, so to write here, okay, so after we create the invoice in the S/4HANA, the new invoice related to the time sheet is created. The status of this invoice is paid. The invoice is automatically generated. Okay. So we can see this is the last step of our entire journey. Now let's do a recap what we have covered so far. So we have covered in the part A, there are 9 different steps. Part B, 22 steps. Part C, it is all about the service procurement, statement of work there. Checks for evaluated receipt settlement. Okay. So these are the few things which you have seen. Now let's go to our other stuff. Let's see if anything is left in the other step. Yeah, almost everything is done. But from a success factor point of view, also would like to see what are the things we can see there. So from a success factor point of view, so we'll go to SCM 41. Review. SCPSF, SCPSF.com. We'll be entering the company ID. So this is our success factor entry. Okay. So this is how the entire process will look like. So, but from success factor point of view, we'll check it later on. Yeah. Maybe in the upcoming sessions. So, but the test script doesn't have anything related to success factor. Okay. But we will come back and we will see what we can do from success factor and how it will work. Okay. Thank you very much for joining in. We will stop here and looking forward to your doubts, queries, whatever you are having. Feel free to ask. Yeah. We will stop sharing. Thank you very much for joining. Have a good day.